Hello, persons, peoples, human beings, Homo sapiens. I'm gonna talk about books today, because I like books and books are awesome, and I'm just on a book talking streak, I guess. Talking about books a lot, so I'm gonna talk about some. I have always, like, from the time I was a really little kid, I loved books, stories just in general. When I was a little kid, before I could read, I would always be begging my mom and my older brother to read to me, and I was very excited to learn how to read. When I was learning how to read, I hated it because I was bored with myself. I think I was impatient. I wanted to be reading as fast as my mom and my older brother. And as soon as I learned how to read, I just took off and read everything in sight. But today I'm going to narrow it down because there are too many books to talk about, and so many good ones. I'm going to talk about dystopian novels, and good ones and bad ones, because it's important. As a first part of talking about books, I have to say that reading is just amazing. Like, I know everybody talks about reading is so good, but I was such a bookworm as a kid. Then I kind of fell into as soon as I got, like, electronic devices, I can play games on my phone type thing, which is dumb. Wastes so much time. I mean, it can be a fun little pastime, but here's the thing. When I'm done playing a game, I feel, like I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good about the time that I spent. I don't feel satisfied. I feel dissatisfied, like I need something else to, like, entertain me. And I find my attention span getting shorter, and I don't listen to people the same way that I did. And so, but I find that after reading, it's like you get this full feeling and you feel really happy and good about yourself. And I think it's better. It's like video games are like candy in relation to, like, as video games are to candy, as books are to, like, steak, Like, it's like a solid, nutritious, delicious food, Or just think of, like, a really good, healthy, good food. Well, yeah. And even just, I'm not even talking, like, super upper level books, like Ernest Hemingway or whatever, I've read all different levels at any age. I've read children's books, so many children's books. I have a lot of little siblings, and I've been a nanny and a babysitter. I've read a lot of children's books, and then I read them on my own free time as well because they were books. I've read the backs of shampoo bottles and everything else in sight, and I've read adult books like Chance to Die is an adult book. I'm not saying adult as in it has adult content that I would not allow my children to read, although I have read books that have content that if I had children I would not allow them to read as well. But those aren't always as enjoyable. So anyway, I'm going to talk about dystopian novels now because it's fun, and I think it's good to pick a good book. Now, I have read a lot of books, like I said. In terms of dystopian novels, the first one, well, the one that really introduced me to dystopian, the dystopian genre, I really think is The Hunger Games. And actually, it was my 8th grade teacher, Miss Staggs, who introduced me to it. And I read all of the books, and it was very engaging, and it had some of the philosophical stuff in there. It wasn't as, like, social commentary as a lot of dystopian novels are, but it had some of that, but it was very engaging. And so, you know, it was a decent dystopian novel. So I'm going to talk about some good ones and some bad ones. Good ones. Fahrenheit 451. I did not read this one in book format because sometime in like my late teens, early 20s, because I'm still in early 20s, I haven't gotten to late 20s yet, I started listening to audiobooks. I realized there were some free ones on YouTube, and this was one of them, and so I started reading it. And by reading it, I mean listening to it. But it's good. I wish I had read it in paperback or like even ebook, because I feel like you get a lot more out of it that way. But it's good, and it does a lot of the social commentary. I didn't find it quite as engaging as, you know, Hunger Games or whatever, but that's my personal taste. A Brave New World is a classic. Dystopian novel. Very interesting. It does, like, you read it and you go, that's the world we're living in a lot of different ways. It's very similar to the world that we're living in, and I think it's a good thing to read Brave New World. Also, 1984, an older one and a good one. When you read these, some of these are not appropriate for children because, you know, dystopians are generally not aimed at children. A lot of times they'll be aimed at teens these days, but even then, some of these I would not let a teenager read, or at least I wouldn't recommend it for a younger teenager. Like, I read 1984 in 12th grade, and there's stuff in there that really shouldn't be talked about with young children, right? They deal with things that shouldn't be dealt with young children in the same manner. So those ones are all really good, really revealing of our current culture. Well, I don't know so much about Hunger Games, but there is some of that. In terms of bad ones, like, those are just ones off the top of my head. All of this is off the top of my head. Ones that I'd say are not that great. Divergent, I read all of the first book, pushed through the second book, tried the third book, and I don't remember if I got past chapter 1. I certainly didn't get past chapter 3 because, well, okay, the writing style is not that great. But bad writing style doesn't stop me. I've read, like I said, backs of shampoo bottles, okay? Like, I am not the most picky reader out there, okay? I read Diary of a Wimpy Kid because I could, because it had words on it, okay? So I said okay a lot. But not only is the writing style not that great, the concept isn't that great, but more than that, it has a lot of that. I don't know if you can call it steamy because I don't know exactly how that word is used in that context. My full knowledge of it is only for, like, actual steam, like heated water that is gas now. But it has a lot of the kissy stuff, and it's over the top. And not only is it annoying in the first one, but it gets to the point where it's like, this is not good for your mind to be dwelling on. And so I could not read that third one. It was just not good. And I would not recommend a parent to let their young teenager read that book either. And it's just not good. Like, why would you waste your time with something that's not good, not well written, and it has bad content? Why? At least let it have one of the two things. Another one that I would absolutely definitely not recommend. If you let them read Divergent, whatever. If you let them read this, you have issues. And that is The Handmaid's Tale. And I also tried to listen to that on audiobook. Excuse me while I throw up. It is terrible, okay? I did not make it that many chapters in because it's just terrible. The way that they write about things is terrible. The person who wrote it is a crazy feminist, and feminism is poison. Don't believe me? Check out the Sheologians. They're really cool. They don't know me. They're not responsible for anything that I say, but feminism is indeed poison. And it's just junk, you know? Like, it's junk. And it's like this Christian group took over and forced women to be baby factories. But the fact of the matter is that Christians would never do that because we're Christians and we value women. We value the role of women in life, and we don't view women as baby factories. Half of us, possibly more than half of us, are women, and that's just not a thing. But it was also just really dumb, and I couldn't make it through there, and it uses a lot of lots of profanity in ways that it shouldn't, and I didn't make it through, so I can't tell you more than that, but I don't recommend it. And I don't know, I haven't read enough dystopians to say much more than that. But that's what I have to say about dystopian novels. If you want to hear about more books, I would love to talk about more books because I love books. And whether or not you like it, I might do it anyway. So, y'all have a lovely night, and don't get the coronavirus, and be respectful to people, and read more books. Okay, goodbye. I'm gonna read a book right now.